There were a lot of emotions thrown around after Sunday's loss to the Seattle Seahawks that I don't regret, but it was definitely something that Bo and I from the halftime show on through our podcast were at odd ends with, and now we've kind of come together. But all in all, the Cardinals are making the playoffs. They're going to LA. This is going to be a hell of a podcast week. So buckle up. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals, giddy up.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. Follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed to our YouTube channel. We're 100 away from the 2K mark. LOC 2K. Is that a thing, Bo?
Sure.
No? Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day. This podcast is brought to you by OnlineGambling.com, the place to be for all the latest gambling news and tips throughout the NFL playoffs. Visit OnlineGambling.com/NFL to get the edge over the competition throughout this year's playoffs. After what we saw on Sunday Night Football a couple days ago, and after what we saw with the Rams and 49ers, it just shows that nothing is ever lost until it's lost. So the fact that the Cardinals are going to SoFi Stadium on Monday night of next week, which Bo mentioned is maybe the worst of all scenarios that the Cardinals could have faced. You know, they have success against Dallas. They had it a couple weeks ago, especially at AT&T Stadium with Kyler Murray. How you feel about the 49ers more than the Rams, and then going to SoFi, Monday Night Football. All of the NFL will be watching that game. So everything will be magnified one way or another. Before we jump to that, because we're going to be talking about that all week, it was a tough post-game knee-jerk reaction pod. It was a tough full-on podcast. And now we've had 24 hours to kind of bathe in this. Is it any better? Is there any more upside than where we were after we saw the Cardinals lose after the Los Angeles Rams lost on Sunday?
There is, when you kind of get away from the sting of the loss for the Arizona Cardinals and realize that the Rams are not playing very well as well. They are also backing into the postseason. When you look at their last three games, they've struggled. Sure, they're 2-1. I mean, they beat a Vikings team that's bad. They missed the playoffs. You know, they lost to Jimmy G in the San Francisco 49ers, a team that the Arizona Cardinals beat twice this season. And Matthew Stafford, their key cog as far as all this goes, he's the guy. He has 8 turnovers in his last 3 games, 7 picks. He's not taking care of the football. He's reverting back to Matthew Stafford, Detroit Lions, who for some reason was completely got off scot-free for any of their struggles over the last 10 plus years that he spent in the Motor City. So there is that. But when you talk about the worst of all realities, this is it. When you woke up Sunday morning, you said, Dallas, I know they're scary. The Arizona Cardinals just went in there and handled them. And we know the record for Kyler Murray in that stadium, and it's really appealing. You look at a couple of the other potential matchup. This is the worst of all realities. Sean McVay is 9-1 against the Arizona Cardinals in his career. It doesn't matter who he is at quarterback. It can be Jared Goff. It could be John Wolford. It could be Matthew Stafford. He's Lex Luthor. He's got kryptonite for the Arizona Cardinals. They've had one successful game against them. That goes for their quarterback as well. Kyler Murray's 1-5 against the Los Angeles Rams. Here's a couple stats for you. I mean, he has 7 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. That's the most picks he's thrown against any opponent. He's been sacked 18 times. That's the most any opponents put Kyler Murray on his back in his career. They have the Cardinals number outside of one game. You take that one game out of the equation, Alex, and Kyler Murray has more interceptions than touchdowns. And of course, hasn't in his career.
And it was without Jalen Ramsey last time the Cardinals lost to them. Unfortunately, this is where we are from the information that we have. the big wins the Cardinals have had this year against big opponents now seem to be more of the exception to the rule than what the future of the rule could look. Now, that's not necessarily fair because they've had a bunch of big wins on the road. But when you lose to Detroit and you lose to Indy and you lose to Seattle when they have nothing to play for, those loom larger than the Cardinals finally getting the Los Angeles Rams, winless streak off their back. Now, not all is lost. We just need to see more from the quote unquote playing the hits portion of this roster. And we mentioned that Budda Baker and AJ Green didn't have good games. That's definitely exceptions to both of those rules from what we've seen this year. There just needs to be a game plan that's better than what we saw when Seattle came into town. The fact that the Cardinals have lost 4 games at home in a row, that's attitude. That's preparedness. That's getting up for a home crowd. Like, there's no excuse. Oh, they play better on the road. Shut up. It's preparation. Nobody hopes to go on the road to play football games.
Well, I mean, there's also focus and there's execution. And is it the players on the field? They're the ones that are out there, right? And if they're the ones that need to, you could have a rah-rah speech and it could not resonate. It's still on the players to go out there and perform. I mean, it's on Kyler Murray before Dallas saying this is on us. That was him taking leadership. And then less than a week later, the players not getting anything done on the field. Let's put a bow on the Seahawks game real quick. They're better than 6-10. They're
for sure.
What you said leading up to it proved to be right. This is a team, probably a playoff team, if they don't have to start Geno Smith. We saw their offense and defensive lines, outplay what they did all season long. Sure, that's an indictment on the Arizona Cardinals, but still, you got to give some credit to Seattle. I'm not giving too much credit. I'm not giving the Arizona Cardinals a hall pass here. There were opportunities. The game was in hand at one point in the second half that they were up 24-17, and then they just they pooped it away. So this is an Arizona Cardinals team that still has a ton of questions that they have to answer, and I feel like I've kind of figured out where the biggest issue is, and we'll get into that. And we'll start to continue to diagnose this what's ailing the Arizona Cardinals. But talk about worst of all the realities. Also, it's a primetime game. It's a Monday night game, and the Arizona Cardinals are 0-3 on primetime. Thursday night loss to the Green Bay Packers. They lost on Monday night to this Rams team, and they lost on Christmas night to the Indianapolis Colts. But and going back to what you said as far as their good wins this season, I'm not going to discount them. That's where I'm going to try to put things in perspective. You beat the top team in the AFC and the Titans handily when they had their key cog and Derrick Henry in the lineup. You beat this Rams team at home. You blew their doors off. You beat the Niners, who are a playoff team, twice. There are some good wins on this Arizona Cardinals resume to where we can't completely discount them and say, hey, they're playing poorly. They're never going to be able to recapture that magic again. They've got to figure out, we know what it takes. Can they do it? That's another question.
Clancy and Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals. All signs would point to no as of right now because we haven't seen anything. The Dallas game, this team is so frustrating. Coming up next, Bo alluded to where some of the issues may, the root of the issues may be. And we'll finish up this podcast with a very simple yet complex question. If the Cardinals lose on Monday night, is this season a failure? Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals first. Don't let your tax season be a failure. That is a smooth professional transition. People think unusual circumstances mean complicated taxes, but for TurboTax Live experts, that's what makes things interesting. Life changes are exciting, and they usually have tax implications. Maybe you were a full-time employee who decided to freelance and now needs some advice on how to file as a contractor. Maybe you started driving rideshare after your 9-to-5 job, or maybe you work in one state but live in another, and you need help reporting your income. Luckily, TurboTax Live is experienced experts dedicated to answering all of your tax questions and finding every deduction for you, and you can talk to them from your phone without ever having to leave your house. Whether you got married, have kids, or change careers, TurboTax Live experts are ready to help you with your unique tax situation and get you the best tax outcome. To TurboTax Live experts, an interesting life can mean an even greater refund. Visit TurboTax.com to learn more. You do your thing. They've got your taxes. Intuit TurboTax Live. All right, second segment, Locked On Cardinals. Follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to leave us a review, we'd love it. Again, spurned by some angry Baltimore Ravens fans when I called out Lamar Jackson a couple years ago. A lot of 1 stars. Check them out. Great names. Great profile names that they dubbed them under when giving 1-star reviews when they didn't like what the truth is. We won't revisit that. There's a couple of truths that we are going to visit today. A couple uncomfortable truths, and it's centralized around Kyler Murray. Bo, let me ask you this up to this point in the season. Because Cliff Kingsbury is going to be a polarizing topic from here, through the rest of the season and into the offseason. This is not a bashing question whatsoever. When the Cardinals play well and they win, and say the defense sparks it, okay? And then the Cardinals don't win games, and people point towards the defense. Is it fair that Cliff Kingsbury gets the credit when the defense leads the charge because he's the head coach, but he gets plausible deniability because he doesn't really touch the defense when the defense lets the offense down? Is that fair? And this isn't a rhetorical question. I'm just curious because that's something, a lot of fodder that we have on Twitter is people are selective with their Cliff Kingsbury credit and blame.
Well, I think this because you can make a case on both sides. And as far as Cliff Kingsbury, and you look at kind of the main numbers as far as how the team has improved basically in every major statistical category since he came over each and every season, and they've improved in wins each and every season. It's tough to deny that the guy has been successful when you're just looking at the top things that you would look for in success. But this team, it's undeniable that they struggle, especially in late in the season in clinching games. They haven't won a game to clinch a postseason berth in 2 seasons or under Cliff Kingsbury. So I see and I hear people making their case against Cliff Kingsbury, but as far as the offense goes, there hasn't been a game where the defense has outright won the Arizona Cardinals a game. It doesn't exist. The Arizona Cardinals complementary football, has it lacked? Yeah. They lose when they don't play complementary football. No doubt about that. But no, what game are you looking at where the offense fell short and the defense outright won the game? Put your mic on.
Listen, because I'm dumbfounded. Like in Tennessee, 5 sacks, 2 strip sacks, short fields. It's not directly defensive touchdowns where the defense wins games. Cleveland, Chicago, where multiple interceptions. Jacksonville, for crying out loud, with the pick 6 from Byron Murphy. Like, it's a trend. The reason why the point differential is so great on the road is because the defense constantly gave the offense short fields. If you think that this offense is a top 10 offense in the NFL over the last half of the season, you're wrong. Like, and I'm not saying you are. No. I'm saying in general.
Overall, it is.
Well, yeah.
As far as overall is, I mean, if you want to sit there and try to, the defense gave him short field, the offense cashed in. That's why I said it's complementary football. It works both ways. To say, hey, it's all the credit is due to Vance Joseph and those stars on defense, that's wrong too. There is way more nuance to this conversation than the thing that I'm having a tough time with, and it's I don't completely want to defend Cliff Kingsbury because I don't think that he deserves a lot of blame for their downfall the last 5 games. But at the same token, I think that people are they feel like it vindicates them because they were Cliff haters early and then they went away and then they feel like they have reason to come back, where the success that this team had early on was also undeniable. And the Arizona Cardinals need to figure out why they haven't made the proper adjustments down the stretch here to be successful again. They have the talent, enough talent left on this roster, even without DeAndre Hopkins and with the potential of J.J. Watt coming back. I just don't agree with all, let's pile on everything that's gone wrong is Cliff's fault, because I don't believe that at all.
I don't think that's true either.
I mean, you won't give him credit where he deserves credit. I mean,
I gave him credit early in the season, but when the NFL catches up, and he can't adapt.
Every single game that you mentioned, the offense scored 30-plus points.
Yeah, and look at, I've been looking. You've been looking. I've been looking to try to find a stat where the points per game is removed short fields from defense. Like I've been searching. I will tell you what, when the weight of the team is on the offense, the Cardinals don't win football games. That is the truth. And if the offense isn't the strength of this organization, Cliff Kingsbury does not have a place in the head coaching spot. And I'll Denny Green you because that's why. That's why people contend to pile on because he never should have been hired to begin with. One, okay. Kyler Murray's evolution as a starting quarterback, him growing as a starting quarterback. That's the reason why Cliff Kingsbury was brought in. So if Kyler's having struggles, that's on Cliff too.
Where's the accountability for the player?
There's for sure accountability for Kyler Murray. 100%. It's not 100% Cliff's fault, but his one job is to put up points and to make Kyler Murray better, and they haven't done that when they've needed to, so he's failed his job. That's the thing.
Alex, put it in perspective, for God's sake. The team went 11.
I hate this.
You hate that you're wrong.
No, people give him credit for a 3 to 5 win jump when they may as well have been an expansion team from 2018 to 2019. The roster was completely different.
What? So I mean, who does a better job? Where has he really truly failed in your opinion?
Oh my God. The first half of Seattle, Detroit, Indy, Christmas Eve on Christmas. The dude cannot get a team up for a big game to clinch a playoff spot, and he had to have Daddy McVay clinch it for him. If the proof isn't here, I can't explain any more to you.
They beat the top team in the AFC. They crushed the Titans. The offense
week 1.
Back and beat the Vikings.
Yep.
They put up 31 on Jacksonville after 7 points in the first half. They put up 37 on this Rams team. They put up 37 on the road in Cleveland, 31 at Houston, 31 against San Francisco without Kyler Murray. I mean, if they don't miss field goals against Seattle, in Seattle, they probably score close to 30 as well. Here's the thing. You're not giving any credit to Cliff Kingsbury. You're not giving him any credit at all, which is the wrong answer as well. To say, hey, I blame him for their struggles, it's sure. But the thing that you're just completely taking away any credit for any steps they've gone, to say that Kyler Murray hasn't progressed or developed like he needs to. He took him out of the offense for 3 games. And he sets career marks. That means he's improved each and every year. What else do you want? What you're asking for is unrealistic. It really is. You're asking for him to turn him into Patrick Mahomes. There's one Patrick Mahomes in the
That's
NFL.
not what I'm asking.
Yeah, you're being an entitled SEC fan with these.
No, I'm not. You said that the first time. That didn't make sense the first time either. With Cliff Kingsbury. Okay, Cliff Kingsbury is great at getting out to a lead. And I gave him credit. Look at my Twitter feed. I gave him credit when they were winning. Of course I did. But when it matters, the fact that he hasn't been able to clinch a playoff game starting 6-3 and starting 7-0 and 10-2, that's enough for me. That's enough. You get the credit. You know what? He's like I have no idea. I have no idea what he is. He's like the guy. No, you know what? He's the guy. He's the guy that peaked in high school that still wears his Letterman jacket around. Sure, he was great a while ago. Those games may as well have been 4 years ago. This is a brand new season. And the fact when push came to shove, no, he doesn't. Yes, they have been a terrible team the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, but as a whole, when you look at the 2021,
you can Uncle Rico it as much as you want. That is a completely different season. It's the first half of the season.
There's stone cold factual statistical evidence that shows that they've been successful, no matter how hard they fell down the stretch. And it's a conversation we're going to get into as far as how you would deem this season. And I know we're going to get into it, but I mean, you're just completely discounting any of the success that this team had.
I gave him credit. I gave him credit. Yeah, I did. I gave him credit when it was easy. They can win when it's easy.
It's not easy to win any week in the NFL. You have to understand that. It's hard to win in the NFL. It's
You're gonna get
impossible.
once we get there, then we've kind of really jumped the shark with actually defending Cliff. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals.
Okay, last word with a just completely stupid statement.
We can go another 45 minutes here if you want.
You haven't said anything.
What are you talking about? Look at what's happened the last 5 weeks. That's on coaching.
And what happened
said it. I haven't said anything. I've been saying that for 6 weeks. You're just finally starting to listen to it.
13. What about the other 13 weeks, Alex?
The other 13 weeks are when amateur coaches can win games.
That's a complete just joke of a statement.
If you've looked at the last 5 weeks and you think that he's the right leader for this team,
if you look,
we're going to disagree.
If I just segment this season into the 5 weeks that fits my narrative, then I'm right. That's stupid. It's absolutely just terrible. That matter. Why does week 18 matter more than week 1 or week 2 or week 3?
Because they could have won the damn NFC West.
They could have won the damn NFC West at any point during the season.
They had a 96% chance to win it 5 weeks ago. So week 18 may not matter, but week 15 may have, and week 16 in Detroit.
You're out of your mind.
I'm not.
Like you're such a Cliff hater. You can't even give him credit where credit is.
I gave him credit when they were winning football games, and when they completely fold like they have.
Yeah, I turned on him, and just because you want to feel like you're right, and there's somewhere in the middle. And I wish we could get to that middle ground, but you're being too damn stubborn about it.
We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out in SoFi Monday of next week. I've been saying this when they were winning games, because the little things that we saw last year, we still see this year, that has happened to be winning more games than they didn't last year. Is this season a failure if the Cardinals lose on Monday night? Is it a failure? Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals. Bo, is there something to be excited about?
Yeah, absolutely. If you buy gas, we've got a great opportunity for anybody that buys gas, an incredible app out there that you need to know about. It's Get Upside. Our listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use the promo code TOUCHDOWN and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free. Use the promo code TOUCHDOWN and get 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right into your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, e-gift card, or Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN. That's the promo code TOUCHDOWN. You get 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. You're muted.
Cardinals fans, we're all looking for an edge these days, and I'd like to thank OnlineGambling.com for sponsoring today's podcast. If you don't know already, OnlineGambling.com is a website dedicated to giving gamblers the edge. Throughout the playoffs, they're providing you with all the best NFL tips, news, and more to help make your bets as informed as ever. Online Gambling is on a mission to be the world's most empowering gaming and betting site, giving gamblers the edge by providing the best and most trusted experience online all day, every day. OnlineGambling.com is inspiring every gambler in the world to beat the odds. Go to OnlineGambling.com and check out the latest NFL playoffs news and tips on how you can get that edge. Visit the website for NFL tips ahead of the playoffs and visit the website for all the latest NFL news. Make sure to visit OnlineGambling.com/NFL for all the latest gambling news and tips to give you the edge throughout the playoffs. Remember, OnlineGambling.com/NFL to make the most of this year's playoffs. All right, final segment in a brother versus brother heated WWE matchup. Ultimate Warrior was always my favorite. I think, was that WWF?
Yeah.
WWF. So
not the biggest.
Yeah, neither am I. I mean, I don't want to get into it now. Follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Is this season a failure if the Cardinals lose Monday night to the Rams?
No, it's not.
Show your work.
The Arizona Cardinals went 11-6 on the season. A lot of people didn't even have in the playoffs. A lot of people, they were the odds-on favorite to finish fourth in their division. You saw progress. You saw development from some key areas. They improved statistically as far as their offense and their defense. Is it disappointing that it would finish like it did down the stretch? Did they relinquish opportunities? Absolutely. But if you're going to hire a guy who's a failed college coach and you're going to take a non-traditional quarterback in Kyler Murray and bet on him as your franchise signal caller, you have to have patience. And right now, the patience is paying off. So you have to be able to look beyond just where they are right now. You have to think that this is a learning tool. This is them, just having to go through and take their lumps. As much as I'd love to see them make a deep run in the postseason, so would every other NFL fan base. But there's been progress, and in the NFL, that's not exactly easy.
I'm going to surprise you. I don't think it'll be a failure either. But that doesn't mean that things shouldn't change. Because the team has shown growth. Players have. Vance Joseph. I mean, there's a lot of different ways this can go. I mean, and also, this is kind of a cop-out, but it's also necessary. Depends on how they lose, if they lose. If it's by a field goal, if they're up 17-0 in the first quarter, if they lose the way the Rams lost to the 49ers, I think that looms as large. And if you didn't see the Rams 49ers game, the Rams were up 17-0 with 10 seconds left to go in the second quarter, and San Francisco tacked on a field goal right before halftime. That's equated to if the Rams win by 17, and if they're winning the whole game. I think that shows that it's not a failure, but it's also leaning more towards things need to change than if, it's a tight game the whole game, like the Chargers and Raiders, or like how the 49ers and Rams game ended, something like that. But I don't think it's a failure. I just also don't think that it has to be a failure for things to potentially need to change.
For sure. It is a team that disappointment, I think, is the key. And disappointment can be different than failure, especially with what the expectations are. And I hope everybody in the building deems it as a failure. I think that they need to take it more seriously even than we do, and figure out where they fell short. This is going to be a pivotal offseason, regardless of what happens on Monday, regardless of what potentially could happen in the divisional round or the rest of the postseason. Like, Steve Keim has to figure out what the path of this organization is going to be. And it's scary to think that he's got that power of how they're going to navigate having Kyler Murray make a lot of money, because they've got like one more year that they've got next year, and then they've got his option year, which they could probably buy out with a lot of money. And then once that happens, like, they don't have enough youth and building blocks on this roster. Like, you can't go out on the free agent market and pick up big dollar free agents like they've done the past two off seasons. Like, he has to figure it out. Like, do you have one last gasp where you go out and have an off season like you had the last couple of seasons, and you spend money on veteran free agents that a lot of people thought, hey, you might have overpaid for them? Or do you start to kind of tilt your eye to the future and try to get some talented younger players on this team? So the window, as much as you think with Kyler Murray, it's ajar by a wide margin, it's not. It's tough. So it's disappointing that when you have talent, on as much talent as the Arizona Cardinals have, and to fall short, that's not an easy pill to swallow, no matter like what your expectations are or what you would deem a failure or success.
Yeah. And what if we lived in a world where you didn't have to give not you specifically, just in general, have to give so we got to trust Steve Keim. Wish that wasn't the case.
Right.
Like that's the world we live in. I mean, that's right. The ecosystem in the biodome, Viva Los Biodome, come back like a leotard. That's where we are. So yeah. We talk out of one side of our mouth. Like, I'm not saying you, just in general, that's something that we just, we have to revisit every so often. Like, Steve Keim shouldn't be the GM anymore. He just shouldn't. He shouldn't have been the GM after 2017, 2018, whatever. And that's the world we live in, where we have this Stockholm syndrome. Like, well, this is the best we got, and this is what we have to watch. It doesn't have to be that way.
Well, it doesn't. We live in reality. We have no impact on, who's calling the shots and whether or not they're going to. We could find the perfect general manager candidate or head coaching replacement for Cliff Kingsbury, and it's just like it has no impact as far as it's concerned. I mean, I feel more passionate that Steve Keim's in a role that he doesn't deserve more so than the head coach. It's we saw what the offense looks like when Cliff has the players that fit his system and how that works. Steve Keim, his roster slowly deteriorated throughout the season, and it's nothing he can really, you can't forecast that, especially DeAndre Hopkins, who's been pretty healthy his entire career, but that's been a big loss for Arizona Cardinals. Like their red zone, it's not good enough right now. Like they're only converting red zone attempts to touchdowns over the last 3 games, 44%.
Yeah, I want to save that for tomorrow because that's a really important thing. I don't want to just shove that in because you did some good research. I don't want to shove that in to the end of a podcast. You're right. I just hope, again, just like the Dallas thing, and Joanna, you get your shout out, that when I said that all will be forgotten if the Cardinals beat Dallas, that was regarding the 3 terrible losses they had before that. That wasn't looking forward to the Seattle game where they could have won the NFC West if they showed up in the first half with the Rams losing. So that's where we are right now. If the Cardinals win on Monday night at SoFi, you're having a totally different conversation. This isn't an I told you so thing. This is watching new information, taking in new data, and reacting to it. If you want to call your Uncle Nostradamus and have him join the podcast and tell us exactly what's going to happen, you're welcome to. But
And I'll give you this. As far as the 11-6 that we've witnessed versus the 11-6 that any Cardinals fans would have taken before the season, let's say when the schedule was released and we knew the dates of each opponent that they were going to take on, and you and I, we just forecast wins and losses. It looks a lot different because we have true context on how each of those games were won and how they were lost. And the way that they've finished the season, the way that they've lost, it's one of those where it continues to, have more questions about this organization, about the head coach, the quarterback, the general manager than ever. I mean, they haven't been there hasn't been a definitive answer on anything. I feel like that we were asking before the season began.
This is not a debate show on purpose. This is organic. We have topics. We don't tell each other what we're going to say before our topics. We're just prepared for it. It's like 2 brothers fighting. Don't think that this is something we're going to carry over after. This is what makes us, and we're never going to change it because this is organic, and this is we fell into this when we first started. We didn't know that we disagreed on everything, on a lot of things. We had no idea.
And I think, and I would put the bet in Vegas right now that Cliff Kingsbury is going to survive regardless of what happens on Monday.
He's got 1 more year on his deal, so that's going to be interesting.
It's not going to be a Miami situation where they can Brian Flores, which was wild in my opinion. We are going to deep dive the Cliff Kingsbury subject. Like I think in the offseason, whether it's February or March, there's going to be the case for Cliff, and then there's going to be the case against Cliff. Like we're going to cover all that ground for you. So we're going to try to focus on this game coming up, which is, like I said, it's the Cardinals' kryptonite. The Los Angeles Rams, Sean McVay, that's the Cardinals' kryptonite. They've got a lot to overcome, and just like the game against Dallas, a win can fix a lot, especially this podcast.
Do you remember it's like, again, there's no safety net, no nothing. Do you remember the South Park episode where they put all of their money, they collected all of their money and put it on one number in roulette? And they're like, that's what it feels like the Cardinals are on. Save the city, all this number on roulette. If you hit that number, the Cardinals are going to the divisional round and they're playing flipping Lambeau. I mean, that's not necessarily true. It depends on if the Cardinals are the highest non-division winning seed. So it's whoever is the lowest seed, like if Philly beats Tampa Bay somehow, or if the Rams lose, or if the Cowboys lose, it would be different. And the Cardinals would probably go to Tampa Bay, which I don't know if it's that much better. Alex, Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. We've gone 10 minutes too long. Thank you to everybody who listens to us. We truly appreciate it. We do it for you and for my doctor because I popped another vocal cord. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.